they asked me like in front of everyone, every popo cousin, do you like France or Pakistan? If I told them I like France, they start saying like, oh, you hate Pakistan, so you won't come there.
Yeah.
And if I say Pakistan, my mom will say, yo, Saad, you were born in France, so what are you saying? So I was like, yeah, I like them both. So they were like, oh, okay, so yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Popcorn. I can't express how good it feels to be in front of this microphone again, to be speaking to you again, and to be returning to this podcast. So welcome back. It's been a while. If you didn't know already, based on our Instagram updates, the reason why we were on a small break was due to my move, a state-to-state move from Texas to Massachusetts in the US. Due to a new job, I had to pick up all my stuff and move, and my wife and I did that, and it was easier said than done, that's for sure. It was not an easy move at all. But now we're here, and we're finally settling down, and everything should be returning back to normal. We have a lot of really cool episodes planned up ahead, so stay in tune. For this episode, I'm introducing you to Saad, 23 years old, from Paris, France. Saad will give us some insight, as you can imagine, into the Pakistani/Muslim community in the Paris area. Saad was born and raised in Paris. He will talk about his life growing up there and recommendations that he has for people who are considering moving to Paris, and and just some insight into French culture in general. And of course, as we often do, Saad and I will also talk about identity, how to identify yourself in the Western world when you're struggling to connect entirely with one side or the other. So we'll get into that. Here's Saad. Whereabouts do you live in France? Are you actually in Paris?
No, I don't live in Paris. I live in the suburbs.
Oh.
So I live in a little town called Roissy-en-Brie. It's very little, not well known, but it's quite calm. And we live here. It's been 5 years, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Could you spell that out for me on Discord? I'm really curious.
Yeah. It's not far from Paris.
Okay. Roissy-en-Brie.
Yeah.
Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes.
Okay, nice. So, were you born in France?
Yeah, I was raised and born in France. My parents came in the 90s. In the 90s, yeah. I was born in 96.
That's great. And then have you been to Pakistan pretty often?
I've been 3 times. The last time was in 2015. It's been 9 years. And since then, no. My parents went last December for marriage.
Oh, nice. Okay. This is really cool, man. Just the fact that you were born and raised in France, I found that pretty cool, because I've been looking for people who were born and raised in different countries they can talk and give us some perspective and see how they relate back to Pakistani culture. So I'm sure we'll get into that. I actually got to visit France about 2 years ago. I was actually on before I got married, I was on a backpacking trip, and I decided to go to Europe, and then I went to London, then I went to Paris shortly after that, and then I went to Switzerland after that. And it was pretty interesting because of all the 3 places that I went to, I was the least excited for Paris. I don't know why. I just I was like, I'm not sure if it's the right city for me, but I went to Paris because I had a friend of mine living there. He actually moved from the US to Paris to work there with his company. And surprisingly, Paris turned out to be the best city. In my experience, I liked it so much. I really liked the atmosphere. Maybe it was also the fact that my friend was with me or something, but I felt like there was just a lot to see, and it was surprisingly like a very unique city. I felt like it was not entirely Western, and it was not entirely Eastern. It was kind of like a very traditional modern city.
Yeah. Even me, when I was young, I didn't go to Paris often. I started going to Paris when I was in internship, so it's 2-3 years back. And now every day I go to Paris because of work and studies. Before, I didn't like Paris.
Yeah.
Because everyone was talking about the traffic. People are not
friendly.
Yeah, not friendly at all.
Yeah.
And since I commute a lot, so I like Paris a lot. I went to, for example, I was in Barcelona last year, and I didn't like it at all because I was saying to my sister and brother that Paris is the best city. I like the vibe, the construction, the buildings, everything.
Nice, yeah, yeah. Because when I went to Paris, right, it was directly before I came from London.
Yeah.
From London, I took the train to Paris, and London to me was very similar to New York City. I'm not trying to be ignorant, but it was a very similar vibe. You know, both very busy cities.
Yeah.
Both, extremely modern, extremely connected with the tube and the subway. Paris has that as well, but there was like not much in London that I saw that I thought could be really, really outstanding, like different types of architecture and whatnot. But then when I went to Paris, I saw a lot of that. I saw the Louvre, I saw the the Arc de Triomphe, and a lot of historic stuff. And I thought it was pretty exciting. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, Paris is full of historic stuff, buildings, cultures, and in Paris it's divided in arrondissement. Arrondissement is like a district going from 1 to 18. So each arrondissement has its unique vibe, its own culture. If you go to northern Paris, northeast Paris, you will see a lot of Pakistanis, for example.
Oh, really? What are the neighborhoods? Do you know the neighborhoods where Pakistanis primarily live in Paris?
Yeah, so it's called La Chapelle.
Okay.
So it's full of Pakistanis and Indians.
Okay.
My brother studies there, so he knows a lot of Pakistanis there. As for me, my school, my university is more near the Arc de Triomphe.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, it's more French vibe, or a lot of white people.
Right. Yeah, because when I actually went to visit Paris, my friend's apartment was right down the street from the Arc de Triomphe. Okay. So we basically were in the heart of Paris.
Yeah.
And we didn't really get to go to La Chapelle, but I see it on the map. Okay, yeah, that's great. Are there a lot of Pakistani weddings over there in France?
So in France, yes. In Pakistani communities, there are a lot of weddings, but I've not been to many of them because we don't have a large knowing of other Pakistanis.
Are there not a lot of Pakistanis there in general?
No. There are not a lot of Pakistanis. As I mentioned, like La Chapelle, there will be a lot of Pakistanis. They will know each other. But for me, example, I have like 2 Pakistani friends.
Yeah.
It's not a lot at all.
Right. Yeah, it seems like I'm just Googling this right now. Out of France has a population of 67 million almost.
Yeah.
And out of that, only about 100,000 Pakistanis, 104,000 Pakistanis. That's pretty small.
They're pretty small, but through this podcast, I will try to find other French Pakistanis.
Yeah.
I hope there are.
That's a good idea, yeah. I'll do a call out for you to see if other French Pakistanis can find this. And you can connect with them. Not a bad idea.
Yeah, it will be good for me.
Yeah. Now, there's not a lot of Pakistanis, but in your university, do you have like Muslim organizations? Because we have those in the US at least. Like there will be other Muslims from outside of Pakistan, from Arabic countries or whatnot. And they often have an MSA or something.
In France, the large majority of the population is Muslim because they come from North Africa, from Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia. In my class, 80% of them are from North Africa.
Wait, are you saying that most of France is like that?
No, not most of France. In Paris and in the suburbs, at least.
Interesting.
Since a young age, you will see a lot of Muslims around me, around my family.
Got it. And they're mostly from North Africa.
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah. With respect to that, I guess, do you have any difficulty finding halal food, for example?
So where I live, actually in the suburbs of Paris, you will at least find one butcher halal shop in each city, and a few convenience store where it's halal. In Paris, it will be more difficult to find it. You can find halal food in African restaurants, North African, Lebanese, Algerian restaurants, Turkish restaurants.
Got it.
Where I work, around us, there are not any halal restaurants. So it's much Chinese, Japanese food. I can't find halal food, so I mostly eat fish when I'm at work.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, that's what a lot of Pakistanis have to resort to over here as well. I mean, in the US, you'll find a lot of halal places, but only within the big cities. Like, New York City, obviously, you'll find a lot of halal. But as soon as you start going a few hours outside, and it's a huge country, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure France has a similar issue where if you go outside of Paris, you might not find halal at all.
Yeah.
When did you start understanding Pakistani culture more? You said you were born and raised in France, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, you probably realized that you're not a white French person. So when did you start learning about Pakistani culture? And I guess how Pakistani are your parents, for example? How did they raise you? Just talk about your identity.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, my dad told me that when the first time in kindergarten, he told the teacher that Saad is not speaking French at home. He will only speak Urdu and Punjabi.
Mm-hmm.
So the teacher said, okay, no problem. We will teach Saad here French, and at home you can use Urdu and Punjabi if you want. It's not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So since a young age, my parents taught me Urdu and Punjabi mix. And on the TV, my parents watch a lot of Pakistani dramas.
Mm-hmm.
So each night we had to watch with them Pakistani TV.
Like a punishment, right?
Yeah, no. At first,
I mean, it was just like family bonding time, I'm guessing.
Yeah. It's like a family bonding time. So we are sitting in front of the TV and it's either drama or news, like ARY News, Geo News.
Right.
And so the Pakistani culture came really early.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
So it was very good. I had to learn Pakistani culture at home, and when I went to school, it was a new world. So it was the French culture I had to learn.
Yeah.
So I've mixed the both of them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, over here, for example, it's challenging enough for a lot of kids to have to learn Urdu, Punjabi, and English at the same time. But like, for example, I know Urdu, Punjabi, and English. I'm not very good at Urdu and Punjabi. My English is probably the best. But my younger cousins and a lot of younger kids that I see here are being raised by their parents, Pakistani parents. Unfortunately, a lot of younger kids are not putting in effort to learn Urdu and Punjabi at all. So they're forgetting everything over time.
Yeah.
But you know basically 4 languages, I would say, right? Your English is pretty good too.
Yeah, thank you.
When did you pick up English?
English at a young age also, because my dad added some English words, I guess, like bathroom, shoes, bed. So he mixed English and Urdu Punjabi. So I guess it comes from that.
I see. Yeah. And also maybe watching a lot of movies, maybe.
Yeah. Movies, TV shows, and So, for example, me, I can speak and understand Urdu. I can have a pretty decent conversation. And I have a little sister. She's good also at Urdu, even better than me. And for example, my little brother, he's 18. He has some difficulties in Urdu. He can understand it, he can speak it, but he don't have enough vocabulary, I guess.
Yeah, right.
You think like a double nationality. Are you French? Are you Pakistani? How will I manage that? And I guess I haven't had that. I always said that I'm French and Pakistani, the both.
Right.
I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about, I guess, connecting to your French side? Did you ever feel any difficulty kind of immersing with French society or like assimilating yourself? Or is it pretty easy to get integrated?
And it's pretty easy because, as I said before, I lived in a city where there were a lot of Muslim kids. And at the same time, there were French kids. And so France is a very open-minded country. So they accept that a black or a Pakistani Indian can talk to a French kid. It's not an issue here. There will be some moments where you think you are a minority. Sometimes I feel myself like a minority because I'm not surrounded by Pakistanis much. There are lots of Indians, Sri Lankans. So I can be friend very easily with Indians and Sri Lankan first and then French people.
Got it. I see. So it's pretty easy to integrate.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
not.
and you said French people essentially they're very open minded
Yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Are you fairly familiar with American politics and our issues around racism?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
often hear that the amount of focus on race that we have in America, for
mm,
example, is not that big of an issue in European countries. I'm not
yeah,
sure how true that is. What would you say about that? For example, we still have, even today, we have like this, black people this and white people do
yeah,
this and
yeah, yeah,
Chinese this and, Arabics do this.
yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of focus on race. And because of that, there's a lot of racism and,
Yeah, in France also, it's true that sometimes the Arabs did that, black people did that.
Mhm,
So it's there are still racism in France.
mhm.
It depends on which city, what kind of people.
Yeah.
For me, I haven't encountered many racism. A little bit, yes. When I was looking for a job for my apprenticeship, I had like 35 interviews.
Wow. For
Yeah,
one job.
yeah, for one job
Wow.
and I had 35 interviews, and I'm not gonna lie, like 25 of them was because I was another culture. I
Mhm.
came from a Pakistani background.
Yeah.
Like just the face, just the color. I think it was really intense interviews. Like they
Mm.
won't look at me at all. They were saying like, "Oh, you're Pakistani," and then they will be like, "Oh, you're Muslim also," and I will be, "Yeah, I'm Muslim," but
Huh. So these are for job interviews and they were asking about your background, huh?
yeah, because
That's interesting because over here that's a big no. You never ask about your race or religion.
yeah,
There's a lot of hidden racism, but they don't ask you about that upfront.
yeah, because in France when you CV the
Yeah.
CV like
The resume, yeah,
yeah
right.
the resume, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So on the resume you need to type how many languages do you speak.
Uh-huh.
So I usually write English first and then Urdu and Hindi, because when I type Hindi,
Yeah.
Hindi and Urdu, it's quite the same. So
Right.
not many people knows what's Urdu. So
Yeah.
we enter Hindi also. So they're like, oh, Hindi. So you're Indian? No, I'm Pakistani. Then
Right. Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Yeah. And it's kind of like a bonus, right?
yeah,
So you
yeah,
could add one more language
yeah, yeah,
because and it's not like it's untrue. We do know
yeah,
a lot of Hindi. There's really not much of a difference except some vocabulary here or there.
yes.
But it's still so interesting that you point out, okay, yeah, you can put those languages on your resume,
Mm.
but then they ask you, are you Muslim? That's pretty surprising.
Yeah, it happened to me twice. They told me like, "Are you Muslim?" Let me rephrase it. When I did my first internship,
Mhm,
the guy there wanted someone to speak English very well,
mhm,
and he took me because of my English and not my
mhm,
skills at first. And then we were like eating at a restaurant, and it was not halal. So I asked the waiter, is it halal? And he said no. And then
mhm.
the guy in the company told me like, oh, you are Muslim, so do you pray? Sorry, I should have known that you are Muslim, so you could pray in at work. And so yeah,
Right,
so if you say that you are Muslim, there will be some people who are going to say like, "Oh, you need a room to pray 5 times a day," and then there
right.
will be a lot of they will talk a lot, like just to joke, like, "Oh,
Mhm.
we are going to a restaurant. Is it halal there? Saad needs to eat halal, so we
Yeah,
must pick a special restaurant for him." So at first,
I see.
it's like a joke, but they repeat it every time. So
I see. Okay.
it's getting annoying.
I see. What you just mentioned, it adds some clarity. So it seems like they ask you're Muslim because of your, your diet
Yeah,
preferences,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
a lot of Muslims, the deeply practicing Muslims here,
Mm.
they also ask their companies to give them a prayer room.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have seen that actually. So
Mm.
yeah, especially big companies, they will have a dedicated prayer
Yes,
room,
yes.
and a wuzu, kind of a
Mm.
bathroom for Muslims to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that. But a lot of the I guess in the US, because there's so much diversity even among Muslims, not everybody
Mm.
is so practicing that they pray at work.
Yes.
So, and then a lot of Muslims here, they don't eat halal
Mm.
either,
Okay.
dedicated at least. There's not so much focus on your background, at least not in the workplace. In the workplace, everybody is expected to be kind of the same person. That's how you are, expected to perform. And of course, companies do try to accommodate your personal preferences, like prayer rooms and things like that. But it's kind of seen like a minus on you. Like your boss will think, oh, he doesn't spend as much time working because he's also praying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So unfortunately, a lot of people, they start sacrificing those things so that they can focus on their jobs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now, what about unfortunately, living in the US, we're pretty ignorant about the rest of the world. We don't get told a lot about what happens in other countries as much. The news are always focused on us 24/7.
Yeah.
And, the few times that we have heard about France is oftentimes, unfortunately, when a tragedy is occurring. Like most recently was when the... was it the Notre Dame? The fire?
The Notre Dame, but it was not Muslim related at all.
It wasn't, but that was in the news because, and I was pretty sad about it myself because I've been there, and it's honestly one of the most beautiful places I've actually seen. It was amazing. We went inside, and right outside the Notre Dame, there's the Seine River. Is that what it's called? The Seine?
Yeah, Seine, La
Seine. Yeah, so my friend and I just sat there. We were drinking coffee. And it was very relaxing.
It's very beautiful. Yeah.
It was kind of weird actually because it was my friend and I, right? Two guys sitting and drinking coffee, and then there was a huge line of couples, like 10, 15 couples just kissing and making out. And we were like, man, well, maybe we're not at the right place. People might get the wrong idea.
I see.
But anyway, that left an impression on my mind about the Notre Dame. And so I was pretty sad about the news when that happened. But then other than that, we hear about France with respect to, for example, the burqa ban or any display of religious symbolism or whatnot. Are those laws still outstanding? And does that affect the politics within France?
So it affects the French citizens a little bit. The Muslim community a lot. Actually, France has an open-minded culture. Like, for example, at school, you shouldn't wear a religious necklace, for example.
Yeah.
Like a Christian or Jewish necklace.
Right. Yeah. So any religious reference is not encouraged in schools.
Yeah. It's not encouraged at school because they want everyone to be equal.
Yeah.
So when it comes to burqa ban, niqab ban, I can understand it a bit because they want every French citizen to be equal. So they want their faces to be seen at least, like to recognize that it's a French citizen or it's a normal one. It's a normal woman, normal guy. So sometimes when the youngsters like me hear about the niqab and burqa ban, they tend to be aggressive, I guess. They're like, oh, you shouldn't put the burqa ban or the niqab ban. It's in our religion, so you shouldn't do that. But in the French aspect, they want everyone to be equal. So they don't want to, how can I say that? They don't want any religion to be superior than the others.
Yeah.
So everyone needs to be equal. So I can understand it a bit. If you want to practice the full Muslim religion, like Islam religion, like the burqa and the hijab, you shouldn't come to France, I think. If you want to practice fully Islam.
Right. So are you saying that the Muslims living in France, they have basically accepted these laws, right?
Yeah.
They have to accept them, basically.
Yeah. They have to accept them. And even when I see youngsters, the girls, especially Muslim girls, they only wear hijab. So at least their faces are seen. My sister wears scarf. So it's normal.
So the hijab is still okay.
Yeah, right? Hijab is okay. But if you see someone with a burqa or niqab, they will stare at you, but they won't aggress you directly. They will just talk behind you, like, oh, she's wearing a burqa, blah, blah, blah. But it's, I guess it's the law. I mean, for me, my parents always told me that even if you practice Islam, you need to respect French laws.
Right? Yeah. And just for clarity for the audience, the burqa is basically the entire covering that covers your entire body, including your face and everything, right?
Yes.
And then the niqab is usually just that piece of cloth that covers your face.
Yeah.
And then the hijab is just a headscarf.
Yeah.
Without covering your face. Yeah. And so back to what you had mentioned earlier, you mentioned you can understand why the burqa and the niqab, because especially when they cover your face, it kind of makes sense why they're banned. I do kind of understand that as well. Thinking from a kind of a Western, non-religious, kind of a secular point of view, it's a little uncomfortable, I would say, maybe, to look at someone and they can see your face, but you cannot see their face.
Yeah. It's really weird. For example, me, when I see someone in burqa and niqab, I understand it. But for example, if there's a friend of mine next to me, he will say, "Oh, Saad, he's Muslim, she's Muslim, and what do you think about that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's in Islam, but he should follow also the French laws."
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you mentioned, basically, if anybody is extra religious and they're thinking of coming to France, they should probably rethink that.
Yeah. They should rethink that. Obviously, there are mosques in France, mosques in Paris. Everyone goes on Friday to pray. It's rare now to see someone with a burqa or niqab. It will be mostly hijab woman.
Right. Got it. What do you recommend for, I guess, Muslims in terms of living in France? Is there any tips that you have for people who are maybe trying to move to France or Paris from the outside? And what things should they keep in mind to help them assimilate a little better?
Yeah. First of all, they should learn the language, because French is the main language here.
Yeah, right.
So even if you speak English a little bit, it will be good. But if you go to Paris, some of them don't know English at all. So first learn French.
I remember that actually, because when I went to Paris, I had heard that some people, especially even if they know English, they will not talk to you in English. You have to try to speak French. So thankfully, I had my friend with me, but even when I was alone, I tried to use Google Translate to use some French, and I think people appreciated that, at least the effort, even though it was not great.
Yeah. So the language, and then find a city where there are a lot of Muslims at first, Muslim community where you can find halal food.
Right. And masjids and groceries.
Yeah, and groceries, everything like that. Try to find a city where Muslim are the majority.
Yeah, got it. Now, Saad, you living in France most of your life, pretty much.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider moving out, or do you like living in France? What do you think?
In France, I haven't traveled much in France because my parents are like, you shouldn't go out much. I haven't traveled a lot in France. I mostly go to Paris. It's the only city I know, like really well.
Have you traveled outside of the country much besides Pakistan?
I went to America twice.
Okay.
To Spain and England. And Italy once also. And that's it. And Ireland,
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So moving out, yes. I guess at first from my parents' house, it would be great.
That's a good first step, right? Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps. First, I think as I do photography, I fell in love with Paris. So I want to move in Paris first,
right?
Like, to have a little studio, maybe, even if it will be it's not. It will be expensive. I know.
Yeah.
But I love Paris. I mean, I want to stay there all day. Maybe go in a northern country like Norway, maybe. Like just to see a new country, to feel that I'm in a new country, what's it's going to be like.
Right.
For example, like last year, I was thinking of moving out to South Korea. Yeah, I was.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a big change.
Yeah, it's a really big change because I have some moments, some phases. Like I want to move to Australia, so I will learn their language, their culture, their visa process. Last year was South Korea. This year it's more Norway, Iceland. So
interesting.
Like
so it changes all the time.
Yeah, it changes all the time. So
have you ever thought about staying in Pakistan for some time, even if you're not living there? Maybe staying there for a few months. Have you considered that?
For a few months, maybe. Like actually, I wanted to, after my studies, I wanted to travel Pakistan. to make a whole tour, going to North Pakistan, to the south, like just to take pictures and have a little short film about it, to show my French friends what Pakistan is like.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You could build a vlog or a documentary or something about Pakistan in French, right? And that could be very educational.
At first, I was thinking in English because I wanted a broad audience, a worldwide audience. Mm-hmm. But I think I will start in French. And first, I want my French friends to know about Pakistan.
Exactly, and there's already, English is kind of the language of the world, so there's already so many other media and documentaries covering that topic. With French, you will be hitting a very specific, audience, and that's an audience, and like we talked about earlier, they might need a better understanding of your culture.
So Pakistan, a few months, but not all of my life. I won't stay. I'm so used to France. It will be hard for me, or I think,
to move out.
To move out in Pakistan for the rest of my life. Even my parents, they lived now. It's been like 30 years. They are in France. 25 years, and they don't think that if they go back to Pakistan, they will stay the rest of their life there. I mean, they are used to France, so why move to their home country? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's the same for families over here as well in the US. Once you get settled somewhere, it's very hard to. And your lifestyle changes completely too.
The lifestyle, the friends. So
exactly,
it's a funny story for me. For example, the last time I went to Pakistan, like even in Pakistan, I'm not even there. They don't consider me as a Pakistani because I'm French. So in France, I'm like a stranger. I'm a stranger, and even in Pakistan, I'm a stranger.
I'm a stranger. Yeah, I know what you mean. I can relate to that. Sometimes you're a stranger in both places, and you basically lack an identity anywhere, right?
My cousin told me, like, it was my last day in Pakistan. And they asked me, like, in front of everyone, every popo cousin, they told me, Saad, do you like France or Pakistan? So I was in a position where if I told them I like France, they start saying like, oh, you hate Pakistan, so you won't come there. And if I say Pakistan, my mom will say, yo, Saad, you were born in France, so what are you saying? So I was like, I like them both. So they were like, oh, okay, so
How old were you when that happened?
I was 19, 18, 19,
Oh, okay. Because it's funny, I got asked the same question in Pakistan. I think everybody has from abroad when they go there. But I was only like maybe 10, 11 years old. And so they asked me, do you like Pakistan or do you like America? And then, I was just 10, 11 years old. So in my mind, I was just comparing, well, let's see, clean streets versus dirty streets. Better transportation versus like tangas and ghodas and things like that, and rickshaws. So I was just like, oh, I like America. And then all my cousins and my uncles were like,
क्या बोला इसने?
ये कैसे हो सकता है? अपना वतन अपना ही होता है, तुम भूल गए हो. And I was like, just 10, like, calm down. It's funny how they put you on the spot too. But I see where they're coming from as well. Obviously, from their angle, we're just outsiders, and we come and we try to tell them from their angle. We've kind of forgotten our identity. Whereas we know that's not true.
That's not true.
You live in France, you live in America, you're still never truly, never completely a French person or an American person. You're basically a hybrid of both. That's why you call yourself a French Pakistani or a Pakistani American.
Yes.
But it's pretty funny. Have your parents spoken to you about marriage at all? Has that conversation started?
Yes, a little bit. Because next year I will complete my master's, so then I will have a job. And my mom always told me, like, when you have a job, we will start looking for a girl. So I'm not ready. I mean, I'm 23. I'm so young. I compared to my cousins in France or cousin in Pakistan, I'm still a kid in my head. I mean, I watch animes, mangas.
Oh, really? Cool. No, I mean, I completely understand. I was just like you.
Yeah,
At 23, you just got your first job. Maybe you just started making money, and it's too early.
It's too early. So for me, the ideal will be 20, 28, 27.
Yeah.
So for now, I've told my parents to stop talking about marriage.
Yeah.
For now, so let me study well. Let me have my degree. Let me have a job, and then we will see what happens next. Because I don't know what will happen next. I mean, in my head, I'm like, I will have my degree. I will have a job, and I will have a normal life, like a work life. But I don't know what will happen.
I did the same thing, by the way. I got married at 28, and it was so important for me to spend those 5 years from 23 to 28 to establish my career and make sure that I'm, I can stand on my own feet. And like you said, basically, I did the exact thing. At 23, I moved out into a completely different city from my parents, and I got my own apartment, and I worked a job there, and I started working up the corporate ladder, and eventually when I was comfortable in my life and my belongings, and I was happy to start looking for a girl. So that worked out pretty well. I think you are on the right track there.
I hope I'm on the right track.
Do your parents have requirements like it has to be a Pakistani girl?
So at first it was she should be Pakistani and Muslim, and then the point of view changed, I guess, because I was like, Pakistani. You mean Pakistan? A Pakistani girl from France or Pakistani girl from Pakistan? Because it's two different things. To have a Pakistani girl from Pakistan, if she comes to France, first the language barrier, because I
have to learn a lot.
I can speak Urdu, but I mean, I need to speak French. It's my first language, and then it will be really hard for her also if she has, for example, diplomas. Convert them in French laws, French system. It will be hard. And if I have a Pakistani girl from France, it will be good. But I don't know any girls from Pakistani girls, so I don't know how they live. It will be really hard. So I told them that. So now they're more like, okay, she should be at least Muslim. Being a Muslim girl is a requirement.
Right.
Even for me, if I've thought about marrying a Christian girl, but marrying a Christian or any kind of any religion, even for me and for my kids, it will be hard because kids will have to learn Islam and at the same time Christianism. So it will be hard for the kids also. So it's better for me even to find someone that I can relate, even in the Islamic way and in my culture. So it's better for me if she's a Muslim.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you consider yourself fairly religious?
Moderate. I'm not. I pray, I make duas and everything, but I have to learn a lot from this religion. My dad each night, like my dad has a conversation with me about either Pakistan or Islam. So he teaches me and my sister and brother everything, like the culture. If we don't know a thing about Islam, he will taught us. He will teach us about that. I have a lot to learn. I have to create a Muslim identity and a Pakistani identity.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. I'm not extremely religious myself. I try at times, but naturally I'm pretty moderate. But when it came to marriage, I had the exact viewpoint that you did. That I think with age, especially as you grow up into your mid to late 20s, you start realizing that the initial attraction phase to a girl is actually not so important when you think about marriage.
Yes.
A marriage being a lifelong commitment. So it's not like you're picking Hollywood actresses and thinking of them as your potential life partner. It's about compatibility and how well that girl integrates with your family, and how well she will raise your kids and what type of values she will transmit to them. And so when you think about all those different things, having that compatibility in background or religion can actually be really helpful. So over time, like when I was very young, I thought, I was like, you should be able to marry anybody that you like. When I was like 17, 18. Then over time, I said, okay, I could marry any Muslim girl.
Yeah.
Then at some point, I even thought, Muslim girl would be nice, but a Pakistani girl would be cool too, because I can speak Urdu to her sometimes, or watch movies and dramas with her that I like. It ended up that I ended up marrying a Pakistan. Yeah, she's like half Pakistani, and the other half is Trinidadian. But she understands Pakistani culture very well, and she understands Urdu, so it worked out.
Yeah. Even me, I guess I'm still 23, so maybe when I would be 5, I will start thinking the same. Like she should be Pakistani also, because she knows the language. It will depend on time, on the mindset I have. So, it's life.
Exactly. Yeah, it's life, and not everybody has the same conclusion at the end. So you might grow up in 5 years and have still the same viewpoint, or maybe a completely different viewpoint from mine. But what's important is you mature and you get wiser. Like you said, c'est la vie.
C'est la vie, yeah. My biggest excuse is c'est la vie. Like, if my mom told me, like, when I eat, actually, I'm the slowest eater. I eat the cookies like really slowly. Like in all my cousins, I'm the slowest. And my mom always say like, Saad, jaldi khao, roti khatam karo, jaldi. And I'm like, it's life, mom. It's life. And even at work, if something bad happened, I'm like, it's life. Yeah, it's life.
It's life. That's what it is. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I do something similar to that in Urdu as well. When, similar to, I guess, what you were mentioning. If my mom or dad are saying something to me, I'll just be like, aisa hi hai.
Aisa hi hai.
Bas aisa hi hai. It's basically my way of saying, like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's funny.